Good evening and welcome to Biz in Focus. Our guest this evening is Dr. Marina Ambrosecchio. She's originally from Italy. She's the founder of the European University of Tourism, and she's here in Sri Lanka this time around to ensure that a branch of this university is set up in Sri Lanka itself. Good evening and welcome to you.
Good evening, thank you.
Great to have you here with us, Dr. Marina. Tell us a bit about your work in the European University of Tourism. What is the concept all about?
Well, I founded the UIT in 1993 in Italy, and at the moment we have 3 branches in the north of Italy, Milan, in Rome, and in the south of Italy, in Palermo. And when I founded this university, it was for answer the requirements coming from the industry of tourism in Italy. And step by step I realized that tourism as a global phenomenon has to be open to suggestions coming from international companies from all over the world. That is why I started to internationalize my company, opening other branches and experimenting as well some new relationship and network in China, where we have a branch in Shanghai, in India as well, in north of Africa. And thanks to the relation I started to have with the University of Colombo some years ago, I realized that Sri Lanka may be a very, very interesting destination opportunity to expand our companies. But as a matter of fact, UIT, the goal of UIT is offer students opportunity that are not tied only to the territory, to the national territory, but offer them the opportunity to spread out all over the world in other countries, thanks to the fact that they have received an education and training that are real responding to international standards, international requirement in terms of human resources from companies coming from tour operating sector or hospitality or congress and event, or what is tied deeply to the tourism field.
Okay, fantastic. So what you mean to say is that the Sri Lankan branch of the European University of Tourism will offer Sri Lankan students who are interested in tourism and the hospitality sector opportunities.
Absolutely,
to,
yes.
Go international with their skills and get training opportunities.
Absolutely, yes, because Sri Lanka is considered now by the WTO as the new destination in tourism. It means that international companies are coming here. As you may see in Colombo, a lot of new international hotel companies, for instance, are just opened or are going to open. And what is really important, in my opinion, is that Sri Lanka is considered now as the new and beautiful eco-sustainable tourist destination. It means that if we are speaking about eco-sustainable destination, it means that we have to face with very well-trained professional figures in this sector, because Sri Lanka is an example of a tourism niche, because you know a lot of years spent from the beginning of these phenomena, and now we have to talk about niche tourisms and not as tourism in general. It means that tourism has a particular niche. I mean, eco-sustainable tourism, religious tourism, wellness tourism, medical tourism, and so and so and so. It means that for each one of these destinations, for each one of this particular field, the requirement for particular professional figures is very, very high. It means that we have to give students the right skill to be in the right place in the right moment.
Dr. Marina, take us through the process of how you plan to set up these operations here in Sri Lanka.
Well, first of all, I think that the most important thing is to respect the local culture, is to respect Sri Lanka as, first of all, a cultural destination. So I need the support of my Sri Lankan partners, because they are the link with the local culture and with the territory. It means that there is a really deep friendship, because I transfer here know-how coming from Europe, but that this know-how has to be adapted to the local requirements. And so, as a matter of fact, is a form of a cultural cooperation we are trying to set up. And I am really happy because, you know, between Sri Lanka and Italy, there is a long friendship. In Italy, in Milan, where I live, there is a very important and big community of Sinhalese people. So I am really happy to offer even to my Sinhalese friends this opportunity.
Right. Sri Lankan friends.
Yes.
Right. Okay, great. Fantastic. You are also internationally recognized as a professor in the area of tourism. What do you think of this concept of sustainable tourism? Do you think it's practical, given the fact that we as a community are battling issues, grave issues such as climate change? However, governments need to come together to curb this. Is this happening successfully, in your opinion, compared to Europe? What's it like in Asia? Do you think necessary action is being paid by governments to combat this?
Well, what I think is that at the base, the real power is knowledge. So it means that we have to face with technicians that are really ready and expert in the area, in the sector. It means that the government is not a problem only of giving funds or financial support. What is important to know what to do, when, where, and why, and answering this question is the basis. Then it comes all the rest. Of course, in Europe, we have the support of European community that is very open to help countries and nations in realizing a particular project in front of a eco-sustainable system, integrated process. Of course, in Sri Lanka, from this point of view, there is something different. But what I think is that if we are going to train professionals, even in this aspect, perhaps these professionals may help support the government in taking the right decisions. In other words, we have to distinguish between tourism, eco-sustainable tourism, and eco-sustainable destinations, because there are two different aspects of the same concept. It means that eco-sustainable tourism, it means good practices that have to be applied by the government, but eco-sustainable destination means the steps, the following steps. It means that eco-sustainable destination is in the hands of the people working in the area. Even there, people have to be aware about what to do, which are the skills that have to be applied in some particular fields. Well, according to my personal opinion, I think that Sri Lanka is a very favorite country, because when you have not to struggle with previous ideas, previous approaches, it is easier to learn from the beginning.
All right, thank you very much. With that, we're going for a short commercial break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Biz in Focus. We're in conversation with Dr. Marina Ambrosecchio, founder and president of UET, which is the European University of Tourism. Dr. Marina, as an expert in the field of tourism, how do you think an emerging economy such as Sri Lanka should utilize its resources to best exploit and explore this vast field of tourism, which is before its eyes, really?
Yeah. Well, I think that we have to separate different aspects concerning tourism in Sri Lanka. First of all, if we consider Sri Lanka from a destination management point of view, we can affirm that there are several aspects of tourism that may develop here in Sri Lanka. I'm speaking, of course, about religious tourism, because I know that there are important tourist flux coming to Sri Lanka from India, but not only from India, from all the other side of the world, because Sri Lanka as well is a country connected to Buddha. So it's a form of religious tourism, it's a form as well of wellness tourism, because even Sri Lanka may offer several opportunities for this aspect, and in Europe huge quantity of tourist flux are interested to this particular aspect of medical tourism. Then there is other forms of tourism that are connected to trekking, to adventure, because here in Sri Lanka nature is queen. And apart all these aspects, if we take into consideration hospitality, well, about hospitality as well, we may offer different opportunity to students, to youngs in looking for job opportunities, because we have not to think hospitality as a mere field for receiving guests and tourists, but hospitality means as well kitchen, means culinary arts, means as well to offer tourists coming from other side of the world the possibility to taste something that as well international, as well coupled with, I don't know, wines coming from Italy, for instance, or France. So it means that even culinary arts has to be practiced by local students, by local youngs who want to be involved in hospitality. It means that from one side we have to preserve the local culture, from the other part we have to be open suggestions coming from other countries, because in this way tourist has to be, take into consideration in the whole, considering soul, but considering even his body, and the requirements coming concerning culinary arts in general. So this is another field, because you know that culinary tourism, gastronomic tourism is another field, very important field. So if we take into consideration at least each of these branches, we may offer a lot of job opportunities.
Okay, fantastic. This is also, it's also important to ensure that there is support from the varying stakeholders, including the state machinery as well. Right?
Yes, absolutely. What is important is to create an integrated system to offer the most possible opportunities in terms of giving skills, competencies, and knowledge, but as well what is important is to realize this system with the support of local stakeholders, but as well of the government, because this is a strategy that has to be built together.
Thank you very much. We're going for another short commercial break. We'll be right back with Dr. Marina. We're in discussion with Dr. Marina Ambrosecchio. Dr. Marina, one thing that we need to specifically stress on is the role played by women in any economy. For example, we're talking about the 51%. So in Sri Lanka also women play a tremendous role in raising families, in livelihood development, etc. What about the role of women in tourism?
I think that women play a fundamental role, not only in tourism, but in society. But in particular in tourism, women today have a real important role, because as a matter of fact, in their hands there is the future of this type of economy. We have to consider that in eco-sustainable areas, the role of women is fundamental, because eco-sustainable tourism means that we have to consider step by step each small areas of territory, and each small area of territory may be ruled by women working that particular area, and we may take into consideration that each house may become a little form of hospitality for tourism looking for a real contact with nature, with the real culture and the real expression and feelings of the land. So starting by little, we may build a very important network, a network that we call, for instance, in Italy as a diffused hotel. So it means that we have not to think about hotel in a very common way, because we may even think about hotel as diffused rooms belonging to different owners with a central system, for instance, of reservation. So each house may be, as a matter of fact, small hotels giving to each guest the feelings to be at home and to be faced with the reality of another type of culture, but in a certain way he is safe and he is in the hands of this micro-entrepreneurial activity. Right. So this is just an example, but there are a lot of examples concerning women. At the moment we are running a program with Indian women concerning fabrics. Okay. You know that the tradition concerning fabrics is in women's hands all over the world, because the colors, design, style is products of women culture. And what we did is that we have given a contact with the Italian stylist and these women, and so from this relationship we have produced new fabrics that have been used by Italian stylists to compose their new design, their new style, their new models. This is another way to offer the local women the possibility to be involved in this industry, even from a very small aspect, but these are not small aspects, because it means that they are improving, they are, increasing their knowledge, they are increasing their capacity of look at their future. So if that we have to consider tourism as an industry, not as a phenomenon. As an industry, we have to have a strategy, the whole strategy of a nation that has to be based on development of territory, but take into consideration the real soul of the nation.
Okay. Also, something that comes with ensuring that the development of tourism takes place is the fact that regulations and laws have to be in place to ensure the protection of tourism and tourists. Yeah. So that is also another aspect which needs to be strengthened.
Yes, you're right, because as I said before, we have to transfer quality standard, international quality standard from Europe, from Italy, from Europe to Sri Lanka, because what is really important is to apply international standard in every part of everyday life. I have spoken before about medical tourism, and Italy became one of the most important destinations concerning medical tourism. Why? Because in Italy the hospital system has answered to 368 international standards, quality standards. It means that responding to these 368 quality standards, it means that we are at the top. And this is an example. So if we want to really to be top in some aspect, we have to focus ourselves, to work ourselves, to join all the other, competitors, and to be best in comparison with the others.
Dr. Marina, thank you so much for your time and your perspectives, and all the very best with setting up the university branch in Sri Lanka.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that's a wrap of Biz in Focus for tonight. Good night.